So good day children. In the previous class you have seen that the doctor, he did the operation successfully and his wife helped him in doing that, and the servants, gardener, cook and the maid servant Yumi, and they purposely spoke against the doctor and his wife because they did not like their nursing and healing the American soldier. And now we'll see that after typing the few words for the general, what happened next. On the 7th day, after that, two things happened. And after the operation, after 7th day, two things happened. In the morning, the servants left together. All the three servants, they left the house because they didn't want to work over there, and they knew that the doctor and his wife, they would be charged for, they'll be charged that they are helping the American soldier, and this way they are disgracing Japan, and they are not patriotic. They are just they are against the country. So Hannah saw them that they tied their things, their belongings in the big handkerchief, and they hung it on their shoulders. When Hannah got up in the morning, nothing was done. When Hannah got up, everything was lying as it is in the kitchen. Nothing was done. The house was not cleaned. The food was not prepared. And she knew what it meant, and she understood that these servants, they wanted to leave. They did not want to work for them. She was dismayed and even terrified, so she felt very bad. She was sad, and as well as she was very afraid also. But her pride as a mistress would not allow her to show it. But being the mistress, she did not want to show that she is at all disturbed by the servants going away from the house. Instead, she inclined her head gracefully when they appeared before her in the kitchen, and she paid them off and thanked them for all they had done for her. And when she was in the kitchen, the servants came over there. She paid them the money. She just shook her head and thanked them for whatever they did for them. They were crying, but she did not cry. The servants, while going, they were crying, but the mistress, she did not show that she was feeling depressed, she was feeling sad, that she'll have to look after the whole household and the children and the American soldier also. The cook and the gardener had served Sadao since he was a little boy in his father's house, and cook and the gardener, they had been working in the house when Sadao was a small child. His father was there. Yumi cried because of the children, and Yumi was crying because she was looking after the children and she was very much attached to them. She was so grieving that after she had gone, she ran back to Hannah. And she was so sad that she walked a few distance, then again she came running to Hannah, and then she said, "If the baby misses me too much tonight, send for me. I'm going to my own house and you know where it is." And she said that if the children miss me, then you call me, I'll come back, and I'm going to my own house. "Thank you," Hannah said, smiling, but she told herself she would not send for Yumi, however the baby cried. But she was determined that she will not call her back. She just said, "Yes, if any problem comes, I'll call you back. She made the breakfast and Sadao helped with the children. Neither of them spoke of the servants beyond the fact that they were gone. And both of them, they started working together in the house. While she was working in the kitchen, Sadao looked after the children. But after Hannah had taken morning food to the prisoner, she came back to Sadao. And after providing food to the soldier, she came and she sat with Sadao. Why is it we cannot see clearly what we ought to do? So she said to him, it's not clear to us that what shall we do? Even the servants see more clearly than we do. The servants are more clear in their outlook, but we are not able to decide what we shall do. Why are we different from other Japanese? And why we behave so differently from the other Japanese? Sadao did not answer. Sadao did not have any answer to her. But a little later he went to the room where the prisoner was and said, today you may get up on your feet. But after a little while, Sadao went to the prisoner's room and he said, today you'll be able to walk. I want you to stay up for only 5 minutes at a time. So for little while, for 5 minutes you stand up and then you rest, and this way you will gain your confidence. The next day you can try 10 minutes, and this way you can do it one after the other, and very soon your strength will come back. He saw the flicker of terror on young face that was still very pale, and Dr. Sadao, he found that the American soldier was quite terrified. It was clear from his face. Okay, the boy murmured. So the boy said, okay. Evidently, he was determined to say more. I feel I ought to thank you, doctor, for having saved my life. And he said that I am very thankful to you that you have saved my life. Don't thank me too early, Sadao said coldly. So Sadao was not so much emotional. He didn't show that he was emotional. Coldly he said that don't thank me. It's too early to thank me. He saw the flicker of terror again in boy's eyes. And again he saw that there was a terrified look. He was afraid. The boy was afraid. Terror as unmistakable as an animal's. As when you are going to hit a dog or a cat, there is a terrified look in their eyes. In the same way, the soldier's eyes were looking terrified, as if some great mishappening or accident is going to occur now. The scar on his neck were crimson for a moment, and the scar that were there on his neck, it became crimson for a while. Those scars, what were they? Sadao did not ask. And Sadao did not ask him what scars were they. In the afternoon, the second thing happened. In the afternoon, one more thing happened. Hannah, working hard on unaccustomed labor, saw a messenger come to the door in official uniform. So when Hannah was working, as you must have seen, when your parents, they are accustomed to the servants, they work in the house, they don't have to do any work, and when the servant go for a holiday or something, then your parents have to work at home. So you see that how painful they feel to work when the servant is away. And that time a messenger came in the official uniform. Her hands went weak and she could not draw her breath. And when she saw the messenger, she became quite weak. And now she was terrified that something is going to happen. The servant must have told already. She ran to Sadao, gasping, unable to utter a word. And now she understood that servants must have gone and told, and So she ran towards her husband to tell that the servant has come, that the official messenger has come. But by then the messenger had simply followed her through the garden, and there he stood. She pointed at him helplessly. And by the time she ran to Sadao and she wanted to tell him that the messenger has come, the messenger had already come inside the garden, and then instead of saying anything, she just pointed out towards the garden, towards the messenger. Sadao looked up from his book. He was in his office, and the other partition of which was thrown open to the garden for the southern sunshine. And at that time, Sadao was sitting in his office room. He was reading a book, and the partition of one side was open so that the sunshine may get in from the south side. "What is it?" he asked the messenger. Then he rose, seeing the man's uniform. Then Sadao asked him, "What is it?" And on seeing the uniform, he stood up. "Oh, Hannah Bread, you are to come to the palace." And the man said, "The old general is in pain again." The man said to the doctor that general is feeling painful, so you have to go and attend him in the palace. So Hannah was quite relaxed. She said, "Is that all?" Messenger said, "All." Is it not enough?" So he said, "Is it not quite enough that I should say?" So she replied, "That's all." But she said, "I'm very sorry that I interrupted you." When Sadao came to say goodbye, she was in the kitchen but doing nothing. And when Sadao was going to see the general, that time Hannah was working in the kitchen. Sadao came and said goodbye to her. The children were asleep, and she sat merely resting for a moment. And at that time, the children were sleeping, and she was feeling quite relaxed. She sat down for the rest, more exhausted from her fright than from the work. She was more exhausted because of the fright that the soldier had come over there. "I thought they had come to arrest you," she said. And she said to Sadao, "I was thinking that he's come to arrest you." He gazed down at her anxious eye. "I must get rid of this man for your sake," he said in distress. "Somehow I must get him rid." And then he said to her that somehow or the other I'll try to get rid of this man because you are very much upset. And after that, Sadao goes out to see General. Of course, the general said weakly. Now, when he reached the general's house, the general's palace, General said, "I understand fully, but that is because I once took a degree of Princeton, so few Japanese have." And he said, "You have understood?" And very few people take the degree of Princeton. He was the prince of that place. And all the Japanese don't get this opportunity to become the prince. "I care nothing for the man, Excellency," Sadao said, "but having operated on him with such success." And then Sadao said to him that, "Your Excellency, I have operated the man successfully." Yes, General said, "It only makes me feel you more indispensable to me. Evidently, you can save anyone. You are so skilled. You say you think I can stand one more such attack as I have had today. So today I had an attack, and I know that you are such kind of person who can save the life of anyone. So I understand your feelings and your work, not more than that." And Sadao said, "I haven't done more than that to that person. And certainly I can allow nothing to happen to you." So the general said, "Don't worry, nothing will happen to you." His long, pale Japanese face became expressionless, and there was no expression on his face, which meant that he was in deep thought and he was thinking something. You cannot be arrested. General said, we cannot arrest you. Suppose you are condemned to death and next day I have to have my operation. And he said, if I'll arrest you, next day you will be condemned to death. Death sentence will be given to you, and by chance my operation is to be done, then what will happen? Your death sentence will be as it is, and you won't be able to save my life, and I will also die. So what will happen to me? There are other surgeons, Excellency, Sadao suggested. Sadao said, there are other surgeons, they will help you. None I trust. So General said, I don't trust anybody. The best ones have been trained by Germans and would consider the operation successful even if I died. And he said, the best ones, they were trained by the Germans. The Germans have given them the training. If they do the operation successfully and I die after that, then what will happen? I do not care for their point of view. For their point of view, I don't care for them. It seems a pity that we cannot better combine the general ruthlessness with the American sentimental. And he said the Germans were ruthless people and the Americans were sentimental. So you have got training in America, so you are more sentimental than the people who have got training in Germany. Then you could turn your prisoner over to execution, and yet I could be sure you would not murder me while I was unconscious. So when you have saved the life of the prisoner, you have not killed him. So how can I believe that you will murder me when I am unconscious? The general laughed. He had an unusual sense of humor. As a Japanese, could you not combine these two foreign elements? So he said, you being a Japanese, you cannot apply both these foreign elements to me. Sadao smiled. I am not quite sure, he said, but for your sake, I will be willing to try, Excellency. So he said, doctor smiled and he said, I'll try to do because of you. The general shook his head. I'd rather not be the test case, he said. He felt suddenly weak and overwhelmed with the cares of his life as an official in times such as these when repeated victory brought great responsibility all over the South Pacific. And the general said that I feel very weak because I have to work so much. I have got so many responsibilities. I have to look after the whole South of Pacific, and it is very unfortunate that this man should have washed up on your doorstep, he said irritably. And he was very much irritated that this man, he got washed up at your doorstep. I feel it so myself. So Sadao said very gently that I am also feeling why this man, he got washed at my doorstep. It would be best if he could be quietly killed, the general said. General said, if quietly we'll arrange and we'll kill that person. Not by you, but by someone who does not know him. You will not kill him, but some other person will kill who doesn't know him. I have my own private assassins. And he said, I have got my own assassins. Suppose I send 2 of them to your house tonight, or better any night. You need know nothing about it. It is now warm. What would be more natural than that you should leave the outer partition of white man's room open to the garden while he sleeps? So he said that I'll be sending 2 persons to kill him, either tonight or some other night, and you need not do anything. The weather is warm. You should open the garden side of the partition where the white man is. Certainly it would be very natural, Sadao agreed. In fact, it is left open every night. So Sadao said this will be a natural thing, and every night the partition is always open. Good, General said, yawning. They are very capable assassins. They make no noise and they know the trick of inward bleeding. If you like, I can even have them remove the body. And those people, they are so expert that they can kill the person, and if you want, then we can remove the body from their place. Sadao considered that perhaps would be best, Excellency. He agreed, thinking of Hana. Then he thought about Hana, that she'll be quite satisfied. So he said, better you'll remove the body from there. He left the general's presence then and went home. After that, he left the general's palace and then he started walking towards his home. And in this way, the whole thing would be taken out of his hands and he'll be clean and clear. No punishment will come on him, and everything will go out of his hand. He would tell Hana nothing, since she would be timid at the idea of assassin. Enough, I told Hana about the assassins that they'll be coming to kill the man. She'll be very much terrified. So he thought not to tell that to her. And certainly such persons were essential in an absolute state such as Japan was. How else would ruler deal with those who opposed them? So this way it is very good for the Japanese, because the ruler can do anything to the people who oppose them. So children, this is the sixth part that we have completed, and it is from page number 38 to 41. And in the next we'll do the thing. That's all for today, and I hope you are understanding the lesson. Good day, children. Goodbye.